Hi, friends, and welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're tuning in live or catching me on replay, thank you so much for making the time. Let's get started.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm Winnie, your host and award winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member and contributor. And I'm grateful to be spending this time with you today. We are definitely streaming here live on many social media platforms. So I'm seeing some comments. Jump in, say hello, introduce yourself, let me know how your week's been going. And let's start and talk about where the market is. It's nice because as soon as we started coming back on air right now, the Nasdaq has turned positive. Nasdaq's up 7 points. We'll take it. The Dow is currently down 64 points. S&P 500 has been pretty flat all day. It's down currently 6 points as well. So, currently S&P 500 is holding steady for many of you who track that index. But of course, the S&P 500 did hit its all-time high just before dipping slightly. And investors all across the country and maybe even across the globe are waiting and looking forward to seeing what the Federal Reserve's key interest rate decision will be this week. Wall Street now is eyeing a federal rate cut. The market anticipates a potential cut of something between 25 and 50 basis points. A lot more people are talking 50 basis points this week, though opinions continue to be mixed. Some analysts are saying that a smaller cut actually could indicate stronger economic health, while a larger cut could signal concern over the labor market. So, depending on which side of that you decide, it's like cutting too much, cutting too little. Even the experts can't agree. So my suggestion is just sit back and just wait for the news to hit. And hopefully you're well diversified. And if you're not, this might be a good time to check in with your friendly financial advisor, an experienced financial advisor, to get some advice on what to do going forward. And speaking of which, the Wall Street Journal's Anna Herstein is also reporting that despite a hotter than expected core inflation report that here in the United States, stocks have reversed many early declines and are actually starting to close and get going to higher territory. So core inflation unexpectedly did pick up in August, though overall headline inflation is still pretty reasonable, easing to 2.5%. So we're watching for this week. Hopefully, you get the news that you're hoping for, whether you're hoping for 25 basis points of a cut or 50 basis points of a cut. Hopefully, the net result is that number one, your groceries are less expensive. And if you're looking to refinance or purchase your home, that will improve as well. So, one of the things that came out from the report recently is that although inflation has been high in the last few years, well, certainly now it doesn't look like it's impacting that much as it pertains to American shopping and spending is still really strong, even with economic concerns. In fact, the home builder industry saw a significant growth this week, up over 26%, in fact, over the past 3 months. Now, of course, this is being fueled by expectations of that Fed rate cut this week. But tech giants are also helping drive more gains into the broader market. And of course, investors are now saying that there might be a rally if they feel like the rate cut is reasonable. And this, of course, could signal underlying economic, you know, gains or weaknesses depending on which side of the coin you sit. But what this means also is a rate cut is going to happen this week. The question is just how much of a rate cut. So I thought I'd bring you a little bit of like real world perspective. What does a rate cut mean to you? Well, here are some areas that a rate cut could translate into, and you can decide whether or not this is applicable and helpful to you or not. One of the things that you should look at is auto loans. If you're in the market for a new car, well, rates for new car loans could actually start to decrease with the rate cut, which hopefully helps affordability. But of course, affordability for most vehicles is still a pretty big issue. So, of course, rates could fall even further. but that could actually expand access to more credit in terms of borrowing to purchase a vehicle, especially those who have lower credit scores or FICO scores. This is an area that you want to pay attention to if you're in the market for a new vehicle. Now, another area that I know a lot of consumers and Americans are dealing with is credit cards. And so, if a Fed cut occurs this week, which we expect it to, then interest rates on credit card balances should drop actually after the rate cut. But the timing of this, of course, is going to be determined on who the issuer, the bank is, right? If it's a Chase or Amex, like when that will trickle down and impact if you have credit card debt. But of course, seeking better rates from smaller banks or credit unions, that could benefit you if the rates are just too high and you're paying too much on debt. Now, another area is mortgages. I know many of you have written in, and I see Joshua joining us, CrossX Spider joining us on YouTube Live. If you've been in the market for a mortgage, and I don't know if he is or not, but I'm just saying thank you so much for tuning in. If you've been in the market for a 30-year mortgage, or if you didn't get a chance to refinance a few years back and you're still looking at that, you really have your eye on mortgage rates. Well, affordability is still a big issue, especially with high housing prices. But variable rate loans like home equity lines of credit, they should definitely benefit following the federal rate changes this week. Now, another area is this. Now, many Americans from the beginning of the pandemic to now have seen their savings balances improved. And if you're one of these lucky Americans who have been saving a little bit more than previous years, then congratulations. However, some of you have had your money in a money market or a savings account or even certificates of deposit, CDs, FDIC CDs. Well, unfortunately, with a rate cut, this is probably also going to impact so that you will probably be receiving lower yields on things like savings accounts and future certificates of deposit that you might be interested in. So this is something to consider. But nonetheless, do know that there's still a lot of very attractive options out there if you want to make sure that your money is working as hard as you do. And so if you are in that scenario, definitely again reach out to your financial firm or your financial advisor and just find out what the options are that might benefit you and your bottom line. Now, one area that we've talked about a lot on this show that I want to mention is, of course, student loans. Now, federal student loans rates they actually stay fixed. So if you have a federal student loan, this probably is going to impact you that much this week's announcement. But if you have a private loan, many of them are actually variable rate. So based on your credit scores, they can fluctuate. So this could mean that there is some impact, positive impact to you on your student loans. But again, it's always really smart to go ahead and shop and look at your different options. And I just want to give a shout out to College App. They have a great system on there. If you haven't been on their website and you have student loans, you might want to check out and just see if that might be something that could benefit you. Okay. All right, let's continue on because I've got a lot of story to share with you today. One thing that I want to talk about is artificial intelligence. Well, we've talked a lot about that on this show, and this is kind of a fun story. AI is, in fact, getting a little brainier. And this was shared on CNN, and you might mean, what does this mean? Well, for those of you who are using AI for those simpler tasks and whatnot, well, your AI might just be getting a little smarter because now there's a new AI model for complex problem solving. Now, OpenAI is releasing its first model in the O1 series designed to, in fact, tackle those more troublesome, difficult, advanced problems. We're talking in coding, in science, and even in math, and giving you some reasoning like you would from a human being. They're saying that this is going to improve thinking processes and that these models, in fact, are being trained to spend more time thinking through these tasks without just, giving you an answer right away. So this gives them a chance to refine strategies, correct potential mistakes, and even enhance their problem solving capabilities. So a lot of engineers and the public are excited for this new technology because this has a potential for major scientific advancements. Remember, we talked about last week, in fact, the talk about how we're in this new phase of an industrial revolution driven by AI. So this new model they're saying could actually help assist healthcare researchers with cell sequencing and physicists with really complicated math formulas. And let me just say, I mean, I'm thinking every student out there who's listening to me right now is thinking, oh, how could I use this in my schoolwork? Right? How could I use this technology and translate that to productivity? Well, of course, there's definitely more challenges in energy costs. OpenAI does acknowledge that with the higher energy costs for running these more advanced models, that this is going to be sort of a balance between computational resources and, of course, the potential on how it benefits all of us in society. Now, new treatments and technologies, that's always sort of that fine line, not too much, not too little, but still getting the job done and still evolving. And that's key, right? That's part of that new stage of the industrial revolution. So they're saying with future developments, they're still in the very much early stages, but this new O1 model is planning to just evolve further. And they're saying future versions are expected to think over extended periods of time to solve these more complex tasks. But I'm thinking it's a computer. How much time does it need? Maybe it can, maybe it's that time that it takes for the energy to run. Let me know if you know. I'm sure you know more about this than I do. Definitely jump in comments. Explain what your perception is on this information, and let me know if you're excited about this sort of new phase of industrial revolution as well. I will say that AI is still relatively newer in many applications, but I've found that I'm using more and more of my day utilizing AI tools, and I'm just curious, how about you? Are you in the same boat? All right, let's continue on because I want to talk a little bit about the workplace, talking about the future and what that looks like. We know like in the even before the pandemic began, there's a lot of talk about like work-life balance. And then once the pandemic first started, of course, a lot of people then moved to working from home and eventually it sort of evolved a hybrid and whatnot. But now many companies are saying you get back into the office. And this includes Amazon, who released a pretty strong statement this week to their employees. Amazon is now going to be mandating full office return for all their corporate employees. Now, this is starting in January of 2025. This is being reported by CNN and Quartz. I'm using both of those sources to help drive this story and give you an idea of what's happening at their company because this could be something that you could see in your company as well. So, starting January 2nd of 2025, Amazon employees are now going to be required to return to the office 5 days a week. Now, as you can imagine, employees are definitely not happy about this. Now, this is sort of a shift from its current hybrid policy, which asks that employees come into the office at least 3 days a week. But now CEO Andy Jassy is saying that, this is not going to be a long-term solution, that physical presence in the workplace is really, really important to fostering employee and corporate collaboration and for true innovation and just stronger company culture. Now, as someone who does toggle between working from home and working in the office, I would agree. I do think there's a lot to be said about working in the same space, and there are things that are lost in translation when you're all working at independent locations. But that being said, I do think we're so far into people working from home and having this hybrid work experience that maybe business leaders need to think that through a little bit more. And maybe, just maybe, other people are saying it's been quite a few years since the pandemic first started, and things need to eventually get back to how they were before. So sometimes you just got to pull the band aid and make it happen. And that certainly seems to be the case for Amazon, where they're arguing that being in the office improves teaching, learning, and team connection, which is really critical, they say, for Amazon's success. So some of the employees, as you can imagine, are pretty disappointed about that. In fact, they're saying that this is something that this policy actually may cause them to even rethink their job. I even saw some comments online talking about, you know what, if that's going to be the case, I'm going to go back to school and forget working at Amazon. I don't know. But I'm curious to see how you feel about that. How would you feel if this was your workplace? And if you do work at Amazon, what is your feedback? We want to hear directly from you as well. But yeah, the policy actually may face obstacles in things like promotions and work from home exceptions that need higher level approval. But the mandate is definitely getting a lot of pushback. So in 2023, they even had a walkout, as well as and layoffs were also affected. 27,000 workers were laid off, and so more and more companies are sort of looking towards this direction. In comparison, just from a year ago, in 2023, in fact, for there was a survey that came out that only said only 4% of CEOs globally plan to require full-time office attendance. So this is a big thing. So we'll see how this unfolds. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. But I'm curious to see how you feel about that. Do you like working in the office? You like working from home? Do you like hybrid? And where do you think the future is in your line of work in your industry? So, all right, let's continue on because I got a lot of talk. I mean, they were like, I will say this: Amazon was working towards Earth's best employer. That was one of their guiding principles. So I'm not sure if this is going to really help or hurt. But speaking of employees and happiness and the future and all that stuff, I also want to bring up something that's been happening at Boeing. Now, Boeing hasn't been shy of being on this show. I mean, their news, I should say, not themselves. But we've talked a lot about Boeing on this show, especially in the last few years. Well, Boeing's just had like quite a bit of troubles recently with their planes and safety issues, changes in management, and now, there's going to be strikes and all sorts of issues. In fact, let's talk about some of the major changes that have been happening. And this was actually reported by Juliana Kim on NPR, talking about the sort of strained relationships that employees are having with Boeing corporate. And just to give you an idea, in 2024, they had a strike over wage disputes and longstanding frustrations. Boeing workers who are represented by a machinist union overwhelmingly rejected contract offer, leading to a strike. Now, workers are demanding a higher wage increase than Boeing's offer of 25% over 4 years, saying they're just unhappy with the company. In addition to that, the 737 MAX crashes, and yet executive pay also continues to be an issue following this deadly 737 MAX crash and safety scandals. Boeing continues to face scrutiny, and workers are just not happy, especially since CEO Dave Calhoun received a significant pay raise among all that turmoil at that time. 2014, they also had contract reopening, pension cuts, and threats of relocation also issued. 2011, South Carolina plant, retaliation against strikes. This is just on and on. So this I share with you because I'm hoping things will get better because I know a lot of us travel and a lot of us travel on Boeing planes. I hope that they can patch up their relationships with employees. I will say this past weekend, I spent some time with a good friend of mine who went to a very distinguished business school. And he was explaining to me some of the challenges and the lessons that they learned during business school, talking about employee relations, which any responsible business executive will tell you is the most difficult, most challenging, but also most rewarding role in corporate is your employee relations and how you can foster that trust and communications so that you can all work together and not just work together temporarily, but long term, so that not only benefits you as a company, but more importantly, it benefits the consumer, the customer, the client, the end user. So, curious to see how you think about that. Do you think they're going in the right direction? How do you feel? Do you feel like you have some suggestions on how Boeing could improve their relationship with their employees? If so, drop it in comments. I'm sure I would love to see, and maybe we'll share those comments from you in the future on a future show. All right, let's continue on because talking about challenges, I want to talk about Michael Kors. Now, many of you who have been just watching the Emmys or watching some of the award shows, you'll probably hear a lot of celebrities going on the red carpet and talking about, oh, who are you wearing? Oh, I'm wearing Michael Kors. Well, Michael Kors came out recently to talk about the challenges of selling their products and having competition and just learning to navigate in the era of TikTok and many other celebrities. This is being shared on CNBC by Melissa Repko, talking about this antitrust trial, if you will. So, Michael Kors, in his testimony in this trial, acknowledged the growing difficulty of competing not only with other countries, but here in the United States, fast paced, social media driven market, and how viral trends can really impact even established brands like Michael Kors. So, in the FTC antitrust trial, this Tapestry's $8.5 billion acquisition, the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, is trying to block Tapestry's acquisition of Capri, which they say would combine six major fashion brands, including companies such as Coach, Michael Kors, all under one company. Now, Michael Kors is saying that there's brand fatigue, and he's even said that, sometimes a brand like Michael Kors, a namesake brand, has actually lost some of its appeal, and it needs new revitalization. So that's important to be able to regain consumer interest. In fact, they're saying celebrity influence in fashion really has changed. And he's noted that the impact of celebrity endorsements share an example. He shared an example of Taylor Swift carrying a handbag from a much smaller brand called Oppen, and this caused actually the website to crash. So they're saying there's so much competition and consumer habits that it's important to realize that brands, even if they're quite established and even if they have quite a bit of market reach, still have continuous challenges, and therefore this is something that being discussed in the antitrust case that's ongoing. Of course, Macy's former CEO is also adding their comments as well, and many other brands and comments of like what's too big, what's fair, should they come together, should they not, and uh, who decides? Because even the most established brands today continue to have their own independent challenges. Not to say that it's more, much less than smaller brands, but just different. It's just different. All right. So speaking of different, let's talk about something that's happening. I know many of you have reached out talking about your challenges with job hunting, or maybe you're just looking for a side hustle or just something to do around the holidays. Well, get this, Target is planning to hire over 100,000 seasonal workers and launch early holiday deals. Now, this is new, right? Because we've hearing a lot of companies that are closing their brick and mortar stores and going completely online. In fact, one of my favorite kid brands for my kids for clothing, they've gone completely online, no longer stores, which kind of made it disappointing because we liked going in there and looking at colors, looking at sizes, and it was kind of a fun experience. But now, literally, just click, 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 and that's how you do this shopping. Now, this is a story shared by Reuters talking about Target now planning to hire many people ahead for the holiday season. Now, this is in line with the past 3 years, despite consumer concerns about people spending less. They actually think that will probably be okay. In fact, holiday sales forecast retailers are preparing for a slightly slower holiday sales growth. In fact, the slowest in 6 years, according to a recent Deloitte forecast. But nonetheless, they're saying now things are starting even earlier. So early holiday promotions will begin actually next month in October. And Target plans to kick off holiday promotions on October 6th with its Target Circle deals and introducing other sort of more affordable toys under $20 and stocking stuffers under $5 just to bring in those more money sensitive customers, which let's be honest, you might think that this was just a certain market, but I've been talking to people across the board from, those who can't find work all the way up the scale of people who are retired and comfortably retired. I think everybody is feeling just a little bit more price sensitive today than ever. So I don't think it's just one particular market. But let me know. Let me know if your experience has been different, if I'm wrong. And I like to hear that too. But yes, Walmart's also going to be doing some seasonal strategies as well, similar to Target. And other companies such as Bath and Body Works also plans to hire Best Buy, and what other companies are being named in this story as well. So I think if you're looking for work, or if you're looking just for a side gig or something temporary, it looks like some of these companies are hiring. And maybe if you're looking for an opportunity, you can take a look at that as well. All right, let's continue on though, because speaking of antitrust, because we just talked about the Michael Kors antitrust, there's another antitrust trial that we've been talking about on this show for the last few weeks, and that is in the area of Google. Well, the YouTube CEO was saying, well, I get that you are saying that we have a monopoly in certain areas, and you're questioning some of our advertising tech practices. But here reported by the New York Times, Cecilia Kang, well, they're saying that, well, it might not be exactly what you think. So Neil Mohan, who is YouTube's current CEO, has said that we really got to defend Google's ad tech, because he testified in this recent trial that Google's dominance in the ad tech market actually comes from innovation and not like a monopolistic practices, and that it faces enough competition as it is, but you can't stifle innovation. The Justice Department is now alleging anti competitive behavior on the side of Google, and the Department of Justice, the DOJ, says that Google crushed its rivals through acquisitions like DoubleClick and AdMeld, which led to their dominance in advertising, and this obviously led to higher ad prices, which really harmed publishers. So they're calling for a breakup of Google's ad business. You hear that? That's big. They're calling for a breakup of Google's ad business. And the government is seeking actually to break up Google's ad tech operations, saying that it controls like 87 plus percent of the ad selling market. That's huge. But Google's saying that no, no, no. The ad tech market is so competitive. They're saying there's other companies like Yahoo and Microsoft, which have expanded through acquisitions as well, and that Google actually helped grow the overall industry for everybody. So it's a high stakes argument for Google, because if Google loses, the potential breakup of its ad tech business could actually reshape online advertising as all of us know. This is going to affect, or has a potential to affect, up to $31 billion in annual ad revenue from ad tech. Huge. So big money. But let me know what you think about that. Do you feel like Google absolutely has dominance over this? Do you think it's fair? Do you think that Yahoo and Microsoft are worthy competitors in this space? And do you feel like this would benefit you if you do advertising? I like the idea of having competition. I also like it to be reasonable, but I think now with sort of this saturation of new content and what, it is getting more and more difficult to grab the attention of your potential customer and consumer for you to drive revenue for you and your business as well. So I kind of see it from both stands, and I think that's good. Let's continue to watch this, and we'll follow the story, and I'll continue to keep you updated on that as well. Speaking of companies that have done things that maybe we're not too crazy about, this is an eyebrow raise, right? Eyebrow raise, if you will. And this is on, I want to share this one because this is on Home Depot. Now, if you've shopped at Home Depot in the past or recently, I certainly have. We do a lot of stuff around the house, and especially with the kids getting older, so with a lot of home improvements are necessary, right? In fact, I think my husband doing something in the house today. But Home Depot is settling, get this, for $2 million over something, this is reported on CNN, over false advertising claims. So, yeah, so overcharging. Home Depot will pay nearly $2 million to settle claims here in California. And this is because the claim says that they overcharge customers at checkout, Eek. Where the price that they paid exceeded those that were listed on shelf tags, or the items even themselves. There might even be stickers. And I think that's really key. That's really unfortunate. I remember a time, I haven't done this in a long time, but I remember a time where that happened more often at different places I shopped at. And so I got to a point where if I saw a really good deal, I'd actually take a picture of it with my smartphone. And that way, when I went to the register, if there was certain issues and they were honoring the deal or something, then I would have proof. Or I would be paying and the price was wrong. And I would be debating, should I go back and take a picture of the price to show them? Nobody likes to overpay. If you say something is a certain price, you should be able to pay that price, right? So they're saying in this case, there's no admission of wrongdoing on the side of Home Depot. They're saying, but they're not admitting to fault, but they will pay the 1.7 million in civil penalties and 277,000 plus dollars for investigation costs and of course future consumer protection enforcement as well, because it's all about accurate prices. And so they're starting a price accuracy program. The court has ruled that it's requiring Home Depot to implement this price accuracy program just to make sure they don't have future violations, because this is a serious offense. In fact, LA County's district attorney is saying that this just highlights the importance of addressing false advertising and of course unfair competition to maintain consumer trust. And I think we would all agree, whether they had to go to court or not, any company, small or large, should customers that come in should have enough trust knowing that between me picking up the item to me paying for the item, that price did not increase or inflate during my walk to the register, right? I mean, that is one of the things that we benefit from when you're doing online shopping. Now, I will say this. I've even seen it on online shopping where the price on one particular page is something, and then once you hit that you're going to check out, that actually increases. And then that sometimes is just like a technical glitch, but that is also why customer service is so important, to make sure that the customer is made whole. So right now, Home Depot is definitely cooperating in the investigation despite the penalties. They were definitely looking to make sure improve things. And I think all of us that shop at their stores would agree this is in the right direction. Now, if you're wondering if there's any reimbursement to you, you probably could Google it and find out and just to see if there's some benefit to you. But speaking of changes, I want to continue to talk about something that happened with 23andMe, because this is a big thing as well. Now, if you've ever used 23andMe, pay attention to this, because they have just agreed to a $30 million settlement over a huge whopping data breach. This is being shared on USA Today. This data breach is going to affect 6.9 million users. So they were faced with a class action lawsuit after this breach exposed that sensitive information of 6.9 million profiles through its DNA relative feature was found. So the $30 million settlement is pending approval, but this includes compensation for expenses related to identity theft and privacy protection. And those who are affected users, will also receive 3 years of generic monitoring services. But yeah, the breach occurred when sort of bad people had access to 23andMe accounts and websites that access 23andMe accounts, particularly targeting certain users of certain descents. So you might want to take a look at the articles, even more details on that. But they're saying that 23andMe, again, no admission of wrongdoing. They're denying any fault, but they have agreed to the settlement with a $25 million, which is expected to be covered by cyber insurance from the company. So I guess that's what I didn't even know there was cyber insurance, but it makes perfect sense that now companies are adopting cyber insurance. So the settlement, of course, awaits the judge's final approval, but those who are affected are going to receive further information on how they can then join the settlement as well. So if you ever use that software, be on the lookout and just make sure that that email and information, if it comes to your email, doesn't land in spam. Speaking of other things and big changes, I want to share this with you. I want to see what you thought about this. This was shared on NBC on the Today Show. NBC Soup Company is now no longer not NBC Soap Company. The Campbell Soup Company is rebranding after over 100 years being known as Campbell Soup. Now they're going to be rebranding themselves altogether. They're going to drop the word soup completely. They're just going to be called the Campbell's Company to reflect their broader product changes beyond soup. So I'm not going to go on a ton of this, but I'm just curious for those of you who are with me live, and I see a lot of you currently. What is your favorite Campbell's product? Is it soup? I mean, come on, Campbell's soup, chicken noodle soup. I feel like that's iconic. Remember the one with chicken noodle soup with stars? That was one of my favorites. But let me know how you feel about that. The name's evolving, their product line, and they're diversifying their portfolios. They said they've been on this transformative journey over the last 5 years. Have you seen it? Have you seen that more things are showing up as Campbell's? I think I have. I will say this. But they said that, their extensive portfolio, of course, includes not only soups, but Prego, Pace, V8, Goldfish, Petrich Farm. Honestly, I didn't know some of this stuff was under Campbell Soups, such as Rouse, Homemade, which I know their pasta sauces are very popular. And they're saying, see, we have way more things than soup. Originally founded Anderson and Campbell in 1869, the soup company officially became the Campbell Soup Company in 1922. That's when they added soup. So, kind of some fun. You got to have some fun business news as well, right? Okay, speaking of fun, this is one that I think you're going to enjoy. Now, how many of you love Chipotle or dine at Chipotle or just find the convenience nice? If so, definitely put in comments, raise your hand in comments, put an emoji if you want. But Chipotle is going to be introducing their Autocado and Augmented Makeline in their different Chipotle locations, maybe even one right next to you. This is being shared directly from Chipotle, in fact, this week. So, what is Autocado and what is this Augmented Makeline launch, right? You might be asking, well, this is pretty cool. They're adding two new cobotic, which cobotic, I guess, is a new robotic. Cobotic is a combination between collaborative and robotic technologies. See, you learn something new on the show every day, right? So, Autocado is an avocado processing robot, and the augmented make line is an automated assembly line for salads and bowls. So the next time you go get your guacamole or you go eat Chipotle and you get a bowl or a salad, it could be made by some element of robotics in there, which could be pretty cool. So this is in partnership with Vebu and Hyphen Autocado, which was developed by Vebu. So this augmented make line was created with Hyphen. So both technologies are planning to improve efficiency and, of course, enhance your experience at Chipotle. They're saying this is going to make things so much faster with food prep. They're saying the Autocado speeds of avocado preparation by cutting, peeling, and coring the avocados, which allows crew members then to focus on other tasks, making sure that the customer is happy. So this augmented make line improves accuracy. So your bowl is made right, your salads are made right, consistency for digital orders. I'm guessing also, it takes away sort of, I see a lot of times on social media, people complain about like, well, if, my husband goes and gets the salad and he gets more protein than if I were to go. And what I think those sort of issues would probably go away if more of this was done by a robot. The robot doesn't care who you are and what you look like. They're just going to give you the same amount of protein based on what it was programmed to do, right? This makes up, I guess, the consisting of digital orders, which makes up about 65% of bowls and salads. They say that's going to be good. They're going to really improve that line of product. And Chipotle is now going through its $100 million Cultivate Next fund. They're saying, which this, of course, was where they invested in companies such as Vebu and Hyphen, where they're trying to support these early stage companies that align with restaurants and Chipotle's growth and innovation goals themselves. So these technologies are currently being tested in select California locations. So if I do experience one, I'll definitely write back and visit back with you. I should actually go to a Chipotle and bring my smartphone, see if I can capture something like that. But I'm guessing it's probably behind the scenes. I don't think that they would put it out so that the people on the line would, who are collecting or getting their bowls made would see this. But certainly, I'm guessing if you order on the app or online, then probably the robot, there's a good chance they could be making your salad or bowl, which is what I usually order. Is that what you order? Let me know what you usually order at Chipotle too. And we can see if it's going to be collaborated, robot, cobotic, who knows. But I don't know, I think this is a trend, and I think we can all agree that there's probably going to be more of this technology and more of the places that we visit, that we shop at, that we pick up food from. We can see the, the writings on the wall that more of this technology, robotics, AI, is just coming, and we are in fact in that second industrial revolution. All right, the market's closed for a while. The Dow is down 15 points. It closed down 15. Nasdaq closed up 35. S&P 500 up almost 1.5 points. Woo! Not huge, but of course, there's still more to go for this week. There's going to be a lot of news this week. It's going to be interesting. But nonetheless, thank you so much, my friends, for being a part of today's Level Up. Always a gift to spend this time with you. I'm so grateful that you made the time, especially those of you who have been commenting and sharing the show. If you don't already, make sure to subscribe so you can stay updated on all the latest content, and make sure to hit that like button as well. And to find full episodes, past episodes of Level Up, you can also check out NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and of course, the streaming social media platform that you're on right now will have a lot of content as well. And for those of you who've been sharing this episode online, thank you so much for tagging at Winnie Sun so I can see your support and appreciate you so much. And of course, if you want to check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun, which is my podcast at Apple Podcasts, let me know what you think, and let me know what future episodes you want to see, because I'm actually going to be revamping that very, very soon. Can't wait to talk to you again. Have a beautiful week. Take care and be well. Bye bye now.